Hello, today we're going to be talking about how to be happy on today's show. How to be happy for persons with disabilities. And even if you are not diagnosed with a disability, you will develop a disability or multiple disabilities in your life. All it takes is one accident or a circumstance in your life to change everything. So how do you turn that situation into happiness? Well, we're going to talk more about that coming up next. So stay tuned. Annoying phone. Horrible. Hello, everyone, and thanks for tuning into PWD Allies podcast. My name is Brent Frain. I'm the host. I'm also joined by Neil Matheson, my editor producer, broadcasting to you from Surrey, British Columbia, and I'm in Victoria, the capital of British Columbia. A beautiful day today. It's supposed to be up to about 20 degrees, maybe 21. High pressure ridge building up, so it's going to be a hot weekend, up to about 30 degrees or 30 plus. Yeah, definitely get the fans going. Turn now that negativity, into a positive. All the heat, because winter is going to be around the corner, and we're going to say, where is that heat? So turning the negative, the down and gloomy times where they say the Monday blues or something into the sunny skies. And kind of going with that is the grass green or is it blue? The grass is blue, sky is green.
That's a
Well,
classic one, Brent.
yeah,
That's a
yeah,
classic
I
one.
know. And so
Yeah,
we're gonna turn that and flip it over and make it to reality versus fiction
yeah.
reality. And so today's show, we're gonna be talking about how to be happy. Well, how to be happy. We're going to dive right into that, and there's lots to talk about. And I hope you really enjoyed today's show. And if you'd love to comment into our comment section, send us your comments. How do how do different environmental things in your life, politically, accessibility, it doesn't matter what the topic is. How does different things affect your life as a negative, but how do you turn it into a positive? I'd love to hear your feedbacks on this. And I can tell you just before we dive into the show, there's a lot going on in our world. Things that we can't control in some cases. In some cases, we can control, and turning a certain negative into a positive. I mean, is it to do with the housing affordability? Is it due to PWD? Legislative poverty. I know government does not like to hear that word, but they're getting used to it because their senior uh, counterparts in the federal government, they love using that word, legislative poverty. But on provincial levels, I know that it really eats away at them.
Yeah.
So the way to stop that negative and turn it to a positive is increase the rates. Just put a basic income out there. If you can't, if you're just incompetent and not able to actually bring the rates up to no less than poverty level, turn it to a basic income already, right?
Yeah.
So that people can thrive and enjoy life rather than having to keep advocating and pushing the government to do the right thing. Just provide people with the standard plus. When I
Yeah.
say standard, I mean that means a base amount, but when you have a disability, those costs are even higher than the basic amount. And right now, a lot of people in my neighborhood say, well, I mean, below poverty? How can PWD be below poverty? I go, because the government is okay with it. They love pink unicorns. I
Yeah.
mean, I got a unicorn right behind me, and we talk about that. They're not real people, but in government's mindset, they're real.
Yeah.
So anyway,
Well,
today's show, yeah, I'm just gonna
yeah,
dive.
and just before we launch on today's show too, I wanted to give an update on my Canada Disability Quest
Oh yeah.
for getting approved. I actually phoned yesterday. I phoned the CRA hotline.
Oh,
Remember we shared the hotline,
oh
and
yes.
I phoned up, and she said, "Oh,
Call
how
now.
can I help you?" And I said, "Yeah, I'm just checking on my status of my application." I said I applied online. I said I didn't get the code in the mail For some reason, I said, I don't know why I didn't get a code in the mail, but I didn't get a code in the mail. But I said I applied back on June 20th, and I've yet to hear anything. And she says, well, and I said, I even have a confirmation code. And she says, well, what's the confirmation code that you got? And so I gave it to her, and she says, oh, there's no record. And then she says, can I have your SIN number? And then I gave her my SIN number, and she says, yeah, I don't see any record there.
Oh my God.
And she says, well, I'll look into it. But like, I got the confirmation number, like, I could show it, but why bother, right? But anyway, she says, I'll look into it, and you'll hear back from us in a couple of days. So can you imagine? Like, I gave her the confirmation code I was given, like after I finished my application, my online application, and I gave her that, and I gave her my SIN number, and she says, oh, well, I don't see any record here for you.
Oh my gosh,
that's really strange. And she says, normally when that happens, it's because you didn't fill out your taxes. And I said, I guarantee you that I filled out my taxes. And she says, well, do you have a DTC, an active DTC? I said, yes. And she said, I don't understand that then. So I said, well, neither do I. Anyway.
Wow. Actually, with that topic, I'm going to read to our viewers and our listeners. There's a post on social media regarding exactly this topic. So this person had said an application says Canada Disability Benefit Application Update, Day 50, Day 50.
Okay.
It says, today they tell me all of these, quote, quote. Number one, I do not have an application submitted. Information I gave on the application, and it says that it didn't happen. Conflicts with the CRA. SIN number registry does not know my citizenship status. Wow. Oh, okay.
Wow.
I didn't indicate my citizenship status on my application, and it says in brackets that they said doesn't exist. Again, another one. I need to reapply in brackets. What? In capital letters?
Yeah.
It says wait for the denial letter from the application that they say never happened. This is truly easy and barrier free.
Yeah.
Wow. So this is coming from the CRA, everyone.
And I'm assuming now. At this point, I'm assuming that I'm going to be denied. It's just, I'm just assuming now that I'm going to get denied based on the fact that they basically lost my application, which I did submit. And they're pretending that I didn't submit anything or something. Yeah.
And that's just one comment from today. And I've seen several comments from people that have been denied. Meanwhile, they are medically assessed and designated in their province as a person with disability in Canada. But meanwhile, the federal government is denying them their disability. Meanwhile, they're disabled provincially, but they're just not. They don't meet the criteria, or they're not disabled enough to get a federal benefit that was basically told that everyone's going to get that 5 years ago, and we're going to let people out of legislated poverty. It's going to be amazing. Well, folks, 5 years later, and here we are. But don't worry, the provincial government said, hey, we're not going to raise the disability rates because we're waiting on the federal government, because they're going to make a historic benefit so good for everybody.
We know that their benefit's going to be barrier free, and everybody's going to get it.
Oh, everyone's going to get it. Yeah. I mean, how can you screw up a benefit?
We have Melvin and Wally in chat, and I just wanted to acknowledge that Wally is saying that there's a scam website out there. For maybe he's referring to a CRA scam website, but I want to reassure everybody that I did go to the legitimate site. I did fill out my application legitimately. So
what the scam is, Melvin, is the federal government really screwed
that's
the
scam.
benefit. That's the scam.
Yeah. Anyway, before we, we'll just dive into today's topic, and how
to be happy.
Yeah, and there's the saying like turn that frown upside down, right?
Yeah.
And it's like, well, how do you do that, right? And
it's hard sometimes.
Yeah, it is hard. Especially if you have a disability. There's, it can be a hard life. It can be a hard life if you have a disability. So, like everybody that has a disability, I mean, we acknowledge that it's hard, right? It's not an easy thing. So the question is, how do you do it? How do you turn that frown upside down? And you notice that on the thumbnail is I deliberately flipped around the frowny face so that you have the smile on the top of the guy's head, right?
Yeah.
Same thing. So we're going to be talking about perspective and being able to flip the narrative,
Yep.
being able to flip the narrative. And I also like to talk about, like I love photography, and I know Alan likes photography too. Like we like to geek out on photography. So
Yeah.
I like to basically use a lot of photography terms, and like you have lenses you can put on a camera. There's wide angle lenses that you're basically zoomed out. You can see everything like wide angle, or you can put on a zoom and you're all zoomed all the way in, right? And you don't really see much. You're too focused in on something, right? Imagine if whether it's a zoom lens or a really powerful magnifying glass. If I had a really powerful magnifying glass that I always carried with me to the bathroom mirror, and I held up this really powerful magnifying glass, and I go, gee, I don't like the look of my face. Well, it's because I'm zoomed in on all my pimples or all my like pores. I'm so, and it's like, of course that doesn't look attractive. Of course I'm not gonna like that because I'm too zoomed in, right?
Focused right on that.
And the trick is, and this is where I'm gonna kind of reveal the whole summary of the show. The trick is to zoom out. Like, if you zoom out, you get a wider perspective. Like you see things on the fringes. Like if you're too zoomed in, you go like, my life sucks. My life sucks. Well, it's just you're too zoned in on your own ego. Your own ego is destroying you. If you zoom out and you're more focused on other things or other people other than yourself, like surrender your ego. Like that's what we have to do. We have to surrender our ego, turn our attention to other things or other people, and help them. And if you zoom out, you can see things on the fringes, and you're like, wow, I can see more, and things on the fringes actually don't look that bad. And if I zoom out and I look at myself in the mirror, I'm like, oh, I don't actually look that bad because I'm actually zoomed out now. I can see my whole self now.
Yes.
That is kind of, like I said, that's the summary, and we're gonna dive deeper into that. And normally, I don't like to profess that I am the expert and know it all everything. And I know you don't do that either. Like, we don't come on this podcast. I mean, we've been doing this for like 3 years now. Over 3 years now, we've been doing this. And I don't think you and I have ever gone on here and professed that we're the experts of everything. We know everything.
I know everything.
Yeah, and like I don't do that. I know you don't do that. But in this one rare case, I'm gonna say that I am a bit of an expert in this because of my experience, with grief and loss.
Yeah, lived experience.
That topic. Yeah. It really affected me really profoundly. Like my first wife, I've shared many times. It's going to be 12 years ago on August 17. It'll be 12 years exactly that my first wife, she had a disability. She died from lupus after battling it for about 4 years because the doctors didn't even actually know what she had until the very, very end when it was too late, because her disability, which she had arthrogryposis, so she was in a motorized wheelchair her whole life. Very profound disability where her motor function is pretty limited. Like she couldn't even lift up her arms to her own face without some help, and getting in and out of bed and toileting and the whole rest of it, grooming, so really, really profound disability. But even given that, she was very able So much so that she was able to be a school teacher, an elementary school teacher for 16 years.
Oh, wow.
So very accomplished in spite of everything, right? But yeah, I just wanted to say that, with that experience of a profound loss, like, it really does wake you up. You see things differently. You have your whole perspective flipped, like we saw with the turning the frown upside down. You have that flipped. You have that wider perspective. You can see things. You zoom out. You can see things on the fringes. You go, oh, actually, it's not that bad, But sometimes it takes a really profound thing to happen in your life in order for you to see that. So I'm going on public record and saying that on today's show, I am an actual expert. So I don't say that very often, but I'm gonna say this on public record. I am an expert for today's show based on my own personal experience with grief and loss, and also for people that have followed the podcast for 3 years, know that my Christianity, my faith, is very important to me. I don't talk about it a lot on the show. We talk about it a bit on the show. I don't talk about it a lot on the show because a couple of reasons for that is because faith is a very personal thing. It's a very private thing. Yeah. In church they always say you have to share the gospel, and that's true. But you have to share it responsibly. You have to kind of look for your moments to share it. I never want to be that person that hits somebody over the head with a Bible or a hammer saying, like, you have to believe, because everybody's...
You have to.
Because everybody's approaching things different. Everybody starts at a different place, right?
Oh, absolutely.
And when I talk about faith being very private and personal, God is very specific and personal with every one of us. And until you actually embrace the faith, you won't understand that, because even like you share all the time the numbers, like numbers on your phone. You have like 1111 or 222 and stuff like that. And God does the same thing with me too. The three numbers He shares with me all the time are 444s. I'll see 444 all the time, and 311 all the time, based on Revelation 3:11. That's a very personal Bible verse for me. We actually talked about that on a previous podcast. It was actually John Horgan's. Remember, we had the podcast last year. It was late last year, November. It was the beginning of, the middle of November. Last year, we had a podcast all about John Horgan, the passing of John Horgan, and I actually shared something that was very secret and personal and private to me. And I won't go all into it again. I encourage that if anybody wants to hear something kind of mind-blowing and very personal and private, they can go back, they can track that one down and watch that, because I don't want to repeat what I said there, because I actually thought that I actually shared that really well, and I don't feel I need to share that all again. So if you want to have a real profound experience that was very personal, very private to me, a very personal, private God experience that I had, you can go back and watch that. Again, that's the John Horgan episode. It was sort of middle November last year we had that.
There was things on from that episode back in November that I shared on that episode also, of things that that John Horgan had revealed to me, and I was supposed to keep it in strict confidence. And it was just tearing shreds within me, to share within the disability community information regarding a COVID supplement, for instance. he had revealed, the inside information, and he said, "Please do not share this out. And can I have your commitment right now?" And I and myself and Sonia, we agreed with them, and we held that information. I mean, I had neighbors asking, well, what's going to happen? Are they going to take it away? Are they going to keep it going? We knew the answer.
Yeah.
But the part of the answer I didn't fully know. I kind of got the idea, and then after talking with him a little bit more, then he revealed more. I didn't think that they would go and use that supplement and then break it down and give a part of it back 2 years later, only to some PWD, instead of actually putting actually in the BC budget. They actually just used the COVID supplement. Here you go, you can have this, and then 2 years later you can have that. It was hard. So I encourage people to go back and listen to the John Horgan episode back in November. I mean, there's things that I hold on within myself, very secretive information that I don't always like to reveal. It traumatizes different events in my life that I've gone through. And when it comes to like turning those events, those not negative, but impactful situations into unhappiness, into happiness. I'll just give you an example, since we're on today's show talking about how to be happy. As some of you are aware, not everybody's aware. This beginning of this year was quite. It was very emotional for me. Actually, it started at the beginning of last year, 2024. No, it continued the final segment. I won't get into all of it, but the final segment of the emotional roller coaster ride that I hadn't gone through. The last time I had gone through something similar to a roller coaster ride, emotional roller coaster ride, was the passing of my mom and my mother. Now, I was adopted, so a lot of people know of me. I've talked before on the podcast before about it, that I had two moms, right? One was my biological mother and my biological mom, and I got to know both of them. And so I'll get into that part in a moment, just so that I can keep things synchronized here. So beginning of this year, the end of a saga that I had two people in my life that were very dear to me for many years. One I knew a lot longer than the other one. But again, Neil, you described about, rather than focusing on the person directly, look at the outer edge. Now, what happened, to summarize it, is that two individuals, they focused on me too close because they figured they knew me. So almost better than I knew myself. Well, I know myself. I mean, everybody knows themselves probably better than anybody else knows them, right? I mean, and that's why I always say, live the life of a person with disability, because until you actually go through it yourself, you don't know what the person goes through, what their capabilities are. And so one thing I've learned, even going through college, is to recap kind of in a mirror of what I had gone through at the beginning of the year, is take the person at value of who they are as an overall view. Don't judge them. Don't focus in on all their attributes, what they're capable of, what they're not capable of. Just take them as an overall view, take them for who they are. Don't judge them. Accept them for who they are. Don't accept them for their faults. Don't accept them for just as an overall. Just be there. Be there for that person, so that they need to talk to that person. Hi, and don't judge them. I think part of society is there's a lot of great people out there. Don't get me wrong. There's a lot of amazing, lovely people out there. But there's also people out there that, I don't know, maybe they're down in themselves, and they're an easy target to go to somebody, maybe that they can pick at somebody who's maybe more vulnerable, or they're not going to stand up for what they believe in. And I've learned to stand up for what I believe in. And it hurts. It really hurt for a while. I've got through it. I get some times where I think back and say, well, could I have done something different? I thought, no, I'm just me. There's nothing to change on who I am. And so I have a lot of group of lovely people, including yourself, Neil, and I mean, and many other people in my life that accept me for who I am. They don't judge me. They just take me for who I am. And um, now reflecting going forward regarding, I said my mom and my mother. I had a lot of conversations over years regarding this topic that we're talking about now, how to turn a negative into a positive, how to be happy, just being yourself, being you, just being you, everybody, being you. And whatever that happiness is within yourself, let it shine. Let it shine. When you look out the window, you open up the curtains, you see the sun. That's that's the sun. That's and I'm not going to get into religious stuff, but
Well,
that's God.
I was gonna say there's that song from church, Brent.
Yeah.
Hide it under a bushel, no. I'm gonna let it shine.
Yes, yes, I know that.
Hide it under a bushel, no. I'm gonna let it shine.
I
Right?
used to sing that song in Sunday school, and it says true. You open up the curtains, you see the sun shining. That's
Yeah,
God keeping an eye on everybody.
exactly.
And I always remember the day, and like I'll just give some examples here so people can maybe can put it into perspective. The day of my mom's passing, my adopted mom, I was working at the time, um, and I had to go and see her. And I got off a little early that day, and I went down. I took a bus down. I was going to get a ride, and the person who was going to give me a ride said, "Well, do you want a ride, or did you want to go and see your mom on your own?" I said, "I want to see my mom on my own, but thanks." So where I was living, I had to take a bus, and then I had to take another shuttle bus. So it took a little time to get out there, but I got up early because my employer at the time said, "Yeah, go and see your mom. It's really quiet. And I'll even pay you. I'll even pay you for that time." I thought that was amazing. So I got 2.5 hours early off. So I mean nothing's changed the company, but still it was very thoughtful. And I thought, wow, like this is amazing, great. I didn't have time to go home to grab something to eat at the time. Um, so anyway, I went and grabbed something at Subway on my way, and yeah, it was okay. Yeah. So anyway, I saw my mom. I went and saw her, and she was quite spry. Yeah, she was sitting up in her bed, and she was in a nursing home, and she was sitting up, and the nurses said, "Yeah, hi Brent. I mean, you're here to see your mom." I go, "Yeah, yeah." She's sitting up in bed. She said she was going to lay down in a little bit, but I told them that you were going to be coming by. I told her you're going to be coming by, and so she got all ready, and she's just sitting there. And I tell you, everyone, like when I looked at her, I thought, wow, like what happened? Like, why is she here? Like she says, well, oh, you're here, and she was actually in tune. She had Alzheimer's. My mom had Alzheimer's. She also had Parkinson's.
Hmm.
She also had dementia. Okay, so it was
Yeah.
you can imagine the toll that it took
Triple
on
whammy.
me.
Triple
Yeah,
whammy.
like I had to, go through a lot of stages, and she was plateauing at times. She would be in a state of mind where she knew who I was. There was times where she didn't even know who I was.
Hmm.
My mom was such a gentle lady, very English lady. She'd never hurt a fly. I got a call one day that she was violent. She was punching other residents there.
Hmm.
They had to subdue her, give her a medication and then put her isolate her. And wow, like for a while. But anyway, long story short is, so I went to go and see her, and she was just sitting there, and she was so happy to see me. And she says, "Are we going out for coffee?" I go, I just be right back. I go, "Can I take my mom for coffee?" I had to get permission. I mean, she's
Yeah.
in a home.
Yeah.
So they said, yeah, like she's in that state of mind for some reason.
Yeah.
So her and I we went out for a muffin and coffee, and my mom loved this little coffee shop, and she asked me if she could have a cookie that she could take back with her. So, sure. I'm thinking I want her to eat healthy, right? I mean, because at her age, she was getting up, but sure. I mean, a treat, sure. So I went and got her a cookie, and I saw the price on the shelf, and ooh, I could get a whole box of cookies for that price. But yeah, but you know what? The price didn't matter anything to me. It was the time that I spent with my mom. So I took her back, and we had a great time. She said she had lots to do, and so that negativity, that that emotion that I was going through, I turned that positive into an energy of that time that I spent with her, and I channeled that energy to the moment of time. And before I left her, she said she had lots to do, that I needed to kind of maybe go home and get a good night's sleep because I had to work early in the morning. And she says, and I got a busy day tomorrow too. I said, well, who's coming by to see you in the home, Mom? I mean, is there other relatives? Oh, no, they've already come and seen me. I have other relatives to go and see tomorrow. And oh, okay. I thought, well, maybe she's just, whatever, like going through some mode or something. And yeah, that was the last time I saw her. I got the call at 8:31, precisely 8:31 in the morning.
Yeah.
And I answered the phone. Nobody was there. Call display showed that. So anyway, I'm not superstitious, but there was something that was off. I called and they said, no, they never called me. Like they didn't know. Like I called them back to that number and they said, we didn't make an outgoing call. They checked with everybody. So I don't know what happened there, but
you shared that story with me before, and
yeah. And then so when I went through that emotional time, it took time, but I channeled that emotional roller coaster into a positive energy and turned into happiness because I looked at it as, and it took me quite some time, but I looked at it as that emotional distraught that I had gone through is into all the beautiful time that I spent with her, and also my mother. Years later, I had gone through the same thing again, right? So I had understood that that's just part of life process, and I had never gone through that. The only time before that was my grandma, but I mean that was many years ago. But never anyone that's close to me. And I've learned over time just to really appreciate life in general. Take things in stride the best way I can. Economically, politically, it's all driven by political decisions, everyone. Like, so when we talk about the PWD rates, it's all political. It's all a political decision for whatever reason. It's still, well, I mean, it's deliberate, but I mean, for whatever reason, they don't want to raise the rates. So I encourage everyone to keep contacting your MLAs. Federally, well, that's more of that federal Canada disability benefit. They can't really put a lot of pressure on their counterparts provincially. They can be very vocal and saying that they need to do the right thing. But I really encourage people to contact your local MLAs in your provinces and tell them, like, bring the rates up to no less than poverty level financial support, as Jeff Leggett from Disability Action of Canada talks about a lot. And we're going to be having him on the show in near future and talking more about the current events on that. So I won't take the wind away from that part. But and he's right though. I mean, nobody should be in poverty living in Canada. And when I turn that negative into a positive, it's like I turn to like appreciate the people that are around you, and appreciate, like, I mean, as self-advocates out there, I appreciate you. I appreciate all of you self-advocates out there and organizations that are pushing the government to do the right thing. But also appreciate yourself for knowing that you are a part of an inner circle, that you are doing your part. Everybody's doing their part in whatever way it is. And we're coming together. And that brings happiness. Whatever that happiness is, it brings that energy, and it really turns that negative into a smile. The upside down smile, it turns it into a smile.
Yeah, and I just wanted to jump on what you said about your last experience with your mom just before she passed, because I had the same experience, a little bit different, but basically the same experience with my first wife. You know, again, she had lupus for 4 years. It was very hard on her body physically. I'm gonna be sharing some pictures fairly soon. I wanted to do a little bit of a show and tell so people could see that the effect that the lupus had on her body, and also the effect that it had on me, and the grief and loss, the effect it had on me as well. So I'm going to be sharing pictures in a bit. But I wanted to acknowledge too that you know, probably the last 2 weeks that my wife was in hospital in St. Paul's, I kept getting calls from the nurses and doctors saying, you know, your wife's going to die today. Your wife's going to die today. For 2 weeks straight, it was like, your wife's probably going to die today. Your wife's probably going to die today. And then probably, I think it was about only 3 days before she passed, I got and I was down there. Again, I'm in Surrey Newton, so anybody that knows the geography, and also again we have to back up the train because my son at the time wasn't even 5 yet. He didn't even have his 5th birthday yet. You know, when my wife passed away on August 17 of August 17 of 2013, and my son's 5th birthday was September 10, and I'm going to get to a picture in a little bit, but so anyway, what I was going to say is about 3 or 4 days before she passed, I got a call from the hospital. It was one of the few times that I was actually home because I was usually there the whole time. I was usually able to hand off my son to my mother-in-law or my own parents. Well, I went down to visit Ilana, and but anyway, on this particular night I was home and I got a call, and I think it was like 9 o'clock at night. I got a call, and it was the nurse, and she says, "Your wife's on the line. She wants to talk to you," and you have to. Again, same thing with when you said your mother's like she was clouded. Her brain was clouded for a long time, right? With your mom.
Yeah.
And but she had that moment of clarity where you had that kind of you had that moment of closure with her. Same thing happened with me because for like at least 2 weeks prior to her death, my wife's brain was almost fully clouded. She was not aware. She didn't know who I was. Completely confused, kind of angry and violent, as you were saying. And anyway, she calls me up, or actually I should say, a nurse talked to me first. She says, "Your wife's on the line. She wants to talk to you." And I thought, this is very strange because I had just seen her earlier in the day, and she was completely unresponsive. Didn't know who I was. Yeah. And anyway, I get this call, and it's my wife, and I kid you not, Brent, it was like I was talking to my wife from like early days, where she had this like sweet voice, and that you could tell like she was completely there, and she was saying she was a bit scared, but she was completely there of like and like I don't know, it's hard to recount everything, but she was 100% there. And then so I was like, wow, this is amazing. And I felt bad about keeping her too long on the phone because I just thought, well, this can't be good. I kept saying to her, like, have some rest and I'll see you in the morning. And I thought it was going to be good. I thought, it means that she's turned a corner and things are going to be good. I'll see her tomorrow and everything's going to be great. And but I went the next morning and she was right back to nothing again. She didn't know who I was, and like 3 days later she had passed. So it was one of those things where kind of, like I said, again, my faith is really important to me, and I really believe this strongly that God gave me an opportunity to have that moment of closure with my wife, that moment of clarity for her, that she was able to say a final goodbye to me, even though I didn't know it was a final goodbye. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's exactly what I had gone through. It's like when she was, my mom was in plateauing, and I kind of told my mom, I'll be right back. And so I was talking to the nurses. I said, I know that they took her off of all her meds. Like they had discontinued. It was the doctor's decision at the time. Like they decided just to discontinue all her meds. And I said to the nurse, I said, are you sure she's off all her meds? Because she's really like very in tune. I said, but there's something different. I said, she's talking almost like the way back in the past of greatly appreciating everything that she's accomplished in her life. She was talking about accomplishments. They're like, yes, we've noticed that. She was kind of going through, kind of telling stories of when when she used to do horseback riding, and when she lived in her hometown when she was a little girl, and what she had gone through during the World War, and soup kitchens, and helping in first aid tents, helping the soldiers when they became wounded, and all these different stories. And I thought, like, I said, it was like amazing. I said, Mom, I mean, yeah, we talked about these things before. And she says, I know, isn't it really interesting though, kind of looking back at memory lane? I said, it is very interesting. I said, do you have any regrets? She goes, no. She said, I mean, you're here. And I said, yeah. And then that's when she said, well, you should get going. I said, well, you know what? I'm going to drop by tomorrow. She goes, well, I mean, if you have time, she says, I've got company coming, and I've got a long journey. I got a lot of journey ahead of me tomorrow. And I said, well, I'll phone tomorrow. I'll phone them, and I'll see if you are up to me coming by to visit. She goes, oh, well, if you're busy, it's okay. It's okay. There'll be another time in life. And that was the key word.
Yeah.
There'll be another
So
time
she
in
knew.
life.
She knew
She
on
knew.
some
She knew she
level.
was.
Yeah.
Yeah,
She knew.
and all that was the parting words, is
Yeah.
that there'd be another time in life. And then I started laughing. I said, "Oh, Mom, you're funny. You're
Yeah.
funny." And she touches my hand, like it was like a very light touch on my hand.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought, like, what are you doing? Like, and then yeah, she goes, "You must go," and that was it. Like, so when I turned that emotion into a happiness. Like, I was like, yeah, okay, that was a great visit.
Mm-hmm.
And so when I look at all the challenges that I've been through in life, through journeys, um, regrets of things, no, I look at it as part of life's process. It took me a long time in different, through different decades of different events have happened. I look at it as well. I mean, things happen for reasons. They teach people to be strong, and to kind of go through those waves of life, and there's curveballs that get thrown at you, right? And you have to try to channel those curveballs into. I mean, it could be negative energy, and you turn those curveballs, try to the best way you can, into a positive energy, and know that there's nothing that you've done, maybe in that moment of time in life, that you may have regretted a decision that you made, right? That decision is based on that time of in your life of just being you as a disabled person, uh, and kind of going forward with that is that you can't always change fate going forward. You don't know what fate is, of what decisions are going to happen going forward, of what your situation may be. You're in that moment of time, and so you have to really uh, languish that positive energy in that moment of time. Like, I could say, well, I shouldn't have moved to such and such an area. Well,
Mm-hmm.
I moved to such and such an area at the time because that was the decision that I made at the time, and I thought it was the good decision. It ended up
But I'm
not being
also
the
I'm also a firm believer that we're all where we're supposed to be. You know
yes
that
at
that
that moment of time.
that God kind of puts you like again. I'm sharing my faith
Yeah,
here, but
yeah,
I really do believe that God puts you in situations and places where He wants you to be.
yeah. Well,
You
that's
know.
kind of what I mean, is that that moment of time, like, you can't determine that moment of time and say, well, that was a decision you made at the time. Well, I mean, you as a person may have said, well, okay, yeah, I made that decision because I wanted to do that, or be there at that time. And for kind of forecasting forward, of saying, well, um, woulda, coulda, shoulda, didn't do. Well, you made that decision at the time, but that decision can be turned into a positive decision, right? Because that was a positive decision that you made at the time. Like, I could say, well, I lived in Nanaimo, at this one apartment. Well, it was great. It was beautiful. Um, Walked out there, and every time I walked out, take garbage out. I mean, 12 cop cars sitting in the parking lot. Like, wow, what's going on here, right? Um, a decision at the time when I moved there, well, it was great. And then all of a sudden, things happened, right? I didn't feel comfortable. Sonia didn't feel comfortable.
Mm-hmm.
Another time we went out, and there was drug paraphernalia right near the sidewalk, off the sidewalk, but right there,
Yeah.
another person in had bedding wrapped around him, and he was running around the neighborhood. Remember that, Sonia? Yeah, she's like, yeah. So like we looked at that moment of time when we moved there. That was a decision, as an example. But we saw these things and we thought, okay, we need to now move. Well, the question is that the happiness time when we moved there was a decision of why we wanted to be there. So when I say sometimes in life you can't really always say, well, woulda, coulda, shoulda, didn't do, like we shouldn't have moved there. Well, no, we did move there because we wanted to move there. Now you can't say, well, is there going to be a better place going forward? Well, nobody knows. Nobody knows.
Unfortunately, sometimes when you walk through a door, you can't walk through it again. It's closed. Like sometimes that happens, right? I wanted to get to a show and tell moment now. Like I said, I was going to share some pictures, and again, like I told you, I'm being very opinionated today, and saying that I am an expert today, based on the fact that I have very profound experience with grief and loss, having lost my first wife. So I am comfortable calling myself an expert on today's show. So with that being said, let me do the screen share now.
Sure.
And I decided I'm going to start with my current wife, because I didn't want to leave her. I didn't want to only talk about my first wife and not talk about my current wife. So this is my current wife, beautiful Filipino or Filipina from the Philippines, and I've been married to her for almost 6 years. But let's go through the pictures now. I'll go to the next one. Here's my first wife, and she's a beautiful Jewish woman. She is my beautiful Jewish bride, and so that's where my son gets his Jewish blood from, was her. And again, she was adopted. She was adopted by Dutch parents, and her parents are her dad passed on about a year and a bit before Elena did. But of course my mother-in-law is still around, and so like my mother-in-law is so important to me, because we have that kind of shared connection of loss. Like not only did she lose her husband first, but then she lost Elena, right? So we have that kind of shared experience. So here you can see that she's nice and healthy, and this was about a year or so before we actually were married. So I think this is it was summer of 2002 when this picture was taken. But you can see that she's very sweet there, right?
Yeah.
And I'll go.
It's a nice photo.
I'll go to the next picture though, and here you can see the effects of lupus, and this is about 1 month before she got sick in bed. Like I think this was in early June. We went down to White Rock, and you can see all the puffiness in her face. That's kind of the ravages of lupus, and she was taking like high doses of prednisone, so it just really ravages the body, right? And it made her body like a lot less mobile. Like she was already, it was hard for her to move around because of her disability, but it just became more and more difficult, right? And you could just
adds on.
You could just see the prednisone, the combination of the prednisone and the lupus, which we didn't even know it was lupus at the time. All we knew it was some kind of autoimmune disorder. These were the best experts in the province, the best experts in BC, weren't even sure what she had because of her disability. Kind of over top of everything, kind of confused their opinions of what it might be. And that's kind of a common thing that can happen. So again, this picture was about a month before she got sick, and she was in bed for a while, and then she got transferred to St. Paul's Hospital, and then she, like I said, 2 months after this picture was taken, she was gone. She passed in August 17 of 2013.
Just some.
So this next picture, and this is the picture that I did show you before. So this is the picture that's 3 weeks after my wife passed away. So this was actually at Jake's 5th birthday. I was at my parents' celebrating my son's 5th birthday, and my sister, so my sister Bonnie, she says, "I want to take a picture with you, Neil." And you can see, I mean, both you and Sonia said, "Oh, it's a nice picture, Neil." But if you really study the picture, you can see my eyes are vacant, like I look like a zombie, right? There's nothing there. Like they always talk about the eyes being the window to the soul.
Yes. Yeah.
And my eyes, I look at my face there and I can see my face is empty. My eyes are empty.
Yeah.
You can tell I'm lost. You can tell I'm confused.
Yeah.
I'm smiling, but I'm not really smiling. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So again, this is a picture of what 3 weeks after the death of your spouse looks like, right? So I wanted to share that. And the last picture we're gonna share is an optical illusion, and I think everybody's aware of this optical illusion, right? I think we've all seen this one before, and this is called the illusion of the. And I didn't make up this term; it's a term it's assigned to the illusion. It's called the old hag versus the beautiful woman. Right? And so this is an optical illusion where, depending on how you look at it, you'll either see a beautiful woman with her head turned and she's got the feather. You can see the feather coming out, and she's kind of wearing a headdress or whatever over the top of her head there. Or you can see an old woman with this is her nose and this is her mouth and an eye there. So again, depending on perspective, you're going to see it differently, right? And and this is what I wanted to get to. Again, we talk about perspective, and depending on how you look at something, you'll see something completely different. And what I will say, again, talking about my faith, is that it gives me the opportunity to see both clearly. You can see everything. Like God really opens up everything, so I can see both the beautiful woman and the old hag, and I'm not just zoned in on one thing only. You know what I mean? And sometimes we can get so zoned in on one thing and only see that one thing. Like we might only see that beautiful, or we might only see the old hag, and that's it. But like, again, when you have this experience of grief and loss, like God really opens up your brain and your mind to really see things from a much wider perspective.
Different perspective.
You can really zoom out and really see everything for what it really is.
Yeah, it's like when you see. I'll give an example to our listeners, our viewers. When you look at clouds, right? I mean, I do this all the time. I guess I'm just a weather nerd when it comes to that, maybe. But I look at some of these stratus clouds, and you look at some of them and how the formation is. Maybe there's upper air current, wind current, and it'll shift clouds away in a certain direction. And all of a sudden, you look and you see, hey, looks like two eyes, and there's like a nose and a mouth. And you can see like a formation of a face in there. And I look at them. So I used to do that when I was a kid. And my mom's, we had about an acre of land. Wasn't too bad. But there was an area where it would be looking at the stars. But before then, I'd lay down and I'd put this little mattress on the ground on our lawn. And I'd look at the sky and I'd be looking at the cloud formation. And study the clouds and looking at them, and you could actually see like faces and how things would blend. And there was one time where there was two faces came.
Oh wow.
And I was like looking at it, and by the time I would be yelling because I didn't want to, I wanted my mom to come out because I knew that the upper air mass was moving the clouds fast. And my mom comes out, everything okay? And she's like, what are you doing? And I pointed to the sky, look. My mom's, what am I looking at? Clouds. And I said, no, study them and look at them. And my mom looked at the clouds, everyone, and I said, do you see faces? She goes, I do. Again, my mom said, I do. And I said, they look like they're smiling, look like they're happy together. And I thought, does that mean anything? She goes, oh, some people can read into these things, but my mom always believed that there was a reason why that there's faces that do come upon clouds. And like that, I mean, my mom had gone through hard times too. And so she always taught me the same thing, is turning like a negative energy into a positive energy. And I mean, my dad was told to leave when I was a child. And after that, my mom, because she just wanted my brother and me to be brought up in a good environment and not have to see abuse, right? And it was traumatizing watching what had happened. But I always turned that negative into a positive. And it took me a good while when I was a child to understand, well, what happened. And after talking with my dad later on, like I went to go and visit him in his where he had moved to. He had moved out to Winnipeg, and so I took a train trip with my mom to see my dad at one time. But when I went on my own, I took a bus. I didn't take the train back then. I took the old Greyhound when they had Greyhound running. Whoa, that was an adventure all by myself. Oh, this is scary. Like, I was like, oh no, I'm doing this on my own. Oh my gosh. Like, and it's amazing. Emotional time of kind of reliving a time that last time I had gone out there was with my mom to see my dad. This time I was going as an adult, a young adult, going back on the Greyhound by myself, and just looking back at all the emotions and looking back at the good times that when my dad would come by to visit, even after my mom kicked him out, but he'd come by to visit. So him and I always stayed in contact, and he wanted to revisit different things. And I said, I'd rather not revisit negativity, Dad. And so anyway, I came out and, he'd rehash of things that in life of why things happened the way they happened. And I said, let's don't dwell on the past. I said, let's focus on the now. I said to him, huh? Looks at me. I go, let's focus on the now. Like I'm here now, and let's appreciate and enjoy that quality of time and that positive energy. And he looks at me and, I've been asking your mom if I could come back. And I said, so life is moving forward now. And like I said, I just can't emotionally have that in and I was still at my mom's at the time, and I said, I just can't have that in my life. Like I remember when I was a child what I had gone through, and you would bring back PTSD for me, and I can't have that in life. And I learned all this through college too. At the time, I had taken a break from college for a good while, but then I had gone back again. But I was learned that you move on with life and you enjoy that quality of time, the now moment. And I taught my dad that, and he thanked me for that, and he did apologize. Like it took a lot for him to actually say, I'm sorry. I said, did you ever apologize to mom though and say I'm sorry? Yeah. I said, you're apologizing to me, but you should be apologizing to her.
To the wrong
he actually did. He did. Yeah, okay, at time, but anyway, I mean, just to kind of give everybody just kind of what I had gone through, but I managed to, and again, I managed to turn a negative into a positive experience. I mean, I can tell you things that value for me. It makes me happy. How to be happy is. I mean, I'm going to say a couple things, and then I'm going to kind of take a little blurb out of Sonia, what makes her happy. So I'm going to tell you, first of all, what makes me happy around my community where I am. Well, number one, yeah, I love Victoria for its beauty. It makes me happy knowing that I can go to a beach. There's so many beaches around here. I did a breaking, well, kind of a breaking with Brent, but it was more of a travel segment. It was a travel segment with Sonia and Brent.
I always like putting those together.
Yeah.
I hope people like watching them.
And I joked around. I said, well, that reminds me of a Cadbury chocolate bar. It's just the name Cadbury, but it was just a Cadbury came in my mind right away, right? So Yeah, that was neat though. I mean, but it's not far. It's only like a 5 minute bus ride from here, and it seems a lot further, but it's about almost a 10 minute walk, almost
Yeah.
10 minute, not quite, down to the beach. I had a young man. I was filming. I was filming it, and it's just a camera shoot from a distance. I mean, when you're shooting from a distance video, I mean, hey, if you're getting into the video, you're getting into the video.
Yeah.
That's just the way it is in
I
life.
always just think of it as human wildlife. If you're out and
Yeah,
about in public spaces,
yeah,
you're
yeah,
human wildlife.
your game, your
It's
game.
fair game. Yeah.
Yeah, I did that in New York. We were traveling along, and these people just shoot. They moved off to the side. But I
Yeah.
mean, they were. I mean, but
The
it was like,
parting of the seas. You're Moses, Brent.
yeah,
You're Moses
Moses. I'm
from
like,
over there.
whoosh. Right. And that was amazing that people did that. I was like, hey, this is going to be awesome video
Yeah.
part. But there was other people that got in my video too, and
Yeah.
most people are okay with that. I mean, unless you're shooting close up and you're saying hi, well, then people are going to say, excuse me. But they know that if you're filming from a distance. So anyway, I had this young man. He comes up, excuse me, are you filming me? I said, I'm just filming just in general, just general scenery around here. Oh, am I going to be live on a film? I go, I don't know. You might not be. Okay. I'm like a scram kid, so it got out of my hair after. But I mean, that's just an example of positive energy is turning a scenery, beautiful scenery, into a miraculous journey. So we explore different parks and beaches around, and I'm gonna be doing some more filming of that this summer for our viewers and to check it out. Part of our travel they call it mini staycation within our region. There will be, I mean, I'll give you a sneak peek. I mean, in the future, there will be some other segments that will be broad and travel segments. But stay tuned on that part.
Yeah.
Yeah, of course, it might be a little mini train trip down the road, but of course,
That'd be
choo
cool.
choo choo. Yeah, but I mean, but I put things into perspective, like the journeys of life, the enjoyments of turning it into a positive energy of enjoying just that moment of time. Because once that moment of time, you're in that moment of time, you can look back at it and say, wasn't that neat? But
Mhm.
being in that moment, you're in that moment. Can you forecast in the future saying, well, am I going to be doing this in the future? You might,
Yeah.
but you need to use stepping stones to get to that point, and you may
Things just
stumble.
kind of open up. Things just kind
Yeah,
of open up when they open up,
opportunities, things open up, and
and
like you can,
then opportunities also close when they're seem to supposed
yeah,
to kind of
yeah.
sometimes.
And nobody
Yeah.
knows the reasons why these
Yeah.
different things happen. But
Yeah.
sometimes when you stumble down, you pick yourself back up
Yeah.
and you say, okay, ouch, but you move forward and you turn that experience into I don't know, a laughing situation. Sometimes I can laugh it off and say, oh my gosh, Brent, you were being so silly. You're being so silly on that situation. But things happen for reasons. Things happen. I mean, I can tell you where a time where I left my luggage. I think I talked about that on the platform, train platform.
Yeah.
I was traumatized,
Yeah.
but it wasn't my fault. Like I had a lot of things on the go at the one experience. Uh, but another train company got it and they're employed, but they didn't communicate with the VIA rail that I was on, and they didn't communicate. Not my fault. And I
Yeah.
said, no, I was right here with the luggage, sir. You walked up with that. No, 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 sir. So they had to get their CCTV and they got everybody involved and they started looking in. Oh, any long story short, it was that traumatized. But I turned that into a moment of laughing later with
Yeah.
the employees. And I said, wasn't I being so silly? I said, I bet I had you guys running around everywhere. And they said, yeah, but you made yourself believe that you were carrying it. I said, because I was used to always pulling like it's like when you're carrying something, right, heavy, your arm is still in that mode thinking like it's like exhausted, like you're thinking you're still carrying it. Well, I was carrying all this luggage. So I was pulling some Sonia stuff and some of my carry bag and another bag that we had, like lots of bags of luggage. And so I was in that mode where, yeah, the adrenaline was, I'm so
Well,
happy getting this trip.
and this is gonna sound silly, Brent, and sorry if I belabor the
Yeah.
point a little bit, but I'll say this to anybody that listens to me, and I'm being sincere and genuine, is that I honestly believe that God has got the most amazing sense of humor, And sometimes I tell that to people, and they're like, God has a sense of humor. What? Why are you talking about God having a sense of humor? But I've seen it. I've witnessed his sense of humor, like for real, and I know that he does. So I can see God just having a chuckle with, that you're losing your luggage kind of I think. But what I wanted to get to now is, the thing about doing a podcast like this, we've already been talking for about an hour, and the problem with doing a podcast like this is that we never rehearse what you and I are going to say on purpose.
Oh,
on purpose, we do this, but basically, I wanted to end the podcast how I envisioned initially how we were going to start the podcast. So how we were going to start the podcast is going to come at the end, and how we're going to end the podcast is the whole reason for doing this podcast in the first place. Like, why did we do this podcast? Of how to be happy? What was the point of it? And I'll give my 2 cents first, Brent, and I'll say why I wanted to do it so bad is because, anybody that goes to social media or Twitter, we see the negativity of people that have disabilities being really negative and saying my life sucks. I want to do MAiD. I want to do MAiD because my life sucks. I want to commit suicide because my life sucks. And I hate seeing that.
There's so much that,
It bugs me so much. And I just want, again, to get all Christian and on everybody here for a moment, is that I personally want to remind people that we are not our own. Like, I think the government, or, we have a world where it's like, buy this now, be gratified now, just like buy more, do more, expect more, like that kind of like go, do attitude, right? It's just like that narrative is just pushed by commercials and even our own government is like, do, go get a job, do, or whatever it is, right? There's that really powerful negative narrative of just go, do, and it's not healthy, and this idea that you can get so focused on the me, there's that saying of there's no I in team. That saying, there's no I in team. So it's the same thing. Like, if you get so focused on the me and the I and the ego, if you get so caught up on your own ego, you can say, like, I deserve to die because I make all my own decisions. And the truth of it is, we are not our own. We belong to somebody more powerful than just me or just you or just anybody else. And I think it's important that we pause and recognize and acknowledge. And I'm saying this appreciating that not everybody has a Christian faith or a faith in God. I'm saying that knowing that, but even so, like, I don't know, like, I don't think it does anybody justice or it helps anybody to think that we're all here just for yucks, like, just for a fun time, like sometimes my dad will say something like that, like, I'm only here for a short while and then I'm gonna be 6 feet under, and I'm thinking to myself, like, I don't know why he can just say something like that, just kind of off the cuff. Like, I want to believe that I'm here for a reason. That I was put here for a reason by somebody that has a reason, by a creator that has a reason and a purpose for things, and he wants us to figure out our purpose. Like life is not something that should be disposable, right? Like,
11.
Oh, is it 11 now? Okay. But like, life is not disposable, and this whole narrative that MAiD is pushing and that the governments are pushing, that we want to be we want to allow people to kill themselves because that's the right thing to do. That all this kind of stuff. It's like it's considered compassionate care to be able to kill yourself. That's compassion. That's valuing human life by allowing you to kill yourself. You're valuing human life. Well, no, you're not. I'm here to say no, you're not. You're not valuing the reason you're here. You're not valuing the person that put you here, the God that put you here. Like I said, we're all here for a reason, whether you want to believe that or not. We're all here for a reason, and it's for all of us to figure that out, to have that journey, and it's a very special little journey for all of us. Like my journey with God is going to be very different from your journey, and it's going to be a different experience. Mm-hmm. And maybe there's going to be people that don't want to acknowledge God in the equation, and if they're not there yet, then that's fine. But I'm just saying, like, I would rather acknowledge something than just say, well, I'm just here by accident, by total fluke, and I'm going to be here for a while, and then it's going to be gone, and nothing of consequence is going to happen. Like how depressing is that? If you want to believe that we're only here for like 70, 80 years and then we go away and nothing of consequence, like I don't want to believe that, because I know the truth that there's something more out there and that we are put here for a reason.
Mm-hmm. One thing that I've always, I've always believed since I was just a kid is that people are here. I'm here for a reason, and I don't know what that reason is, right? Only God knows what that reason is. That's one of the things I've always believed in. Same thing, and people can say, "Well, Brent, you're being very religious here." Well, no, I'm just stating how my own personal how I perceive things. Mm-hmm. I can't say to people, "Well, you can believe. You have to believe what I'm believing." But I'm telling people what I believe is the same thing what you just mentioned, Neil, is I believe that people are put here for a reason. Things happen in life for reasons. I don't know why things happen for reasons. I can tell you that one thing that is not supposed to happen for reasons, though, is political decisions by our governments from every level of government.
Yeah, and we wanted to finish off with that, didn't we, Brent?
Yeah, that allows people to live in deliberate legislative poverty, in government-imposed legislative poverty. There is no need to any person in Canada that is a permanent citizen. I was born and raised in BC. I'm a resident of BC. I'm a citizen of Canada. I should not be having to be in legislative poverty by something that the government has a legal responsibility of taking care of their own citizens and their residents. Is that what we do to our seniors? People with disabilities, it's no fault of my own. I'm born with disabilities. I've acquired more disabilities as I go through life's journeys, as we call it. And again, I'm not turning all into a negative situation. I want to see people prosper. I want to see people enjoy life as equal as everybody else, as able-bodied that are able. Right now, they're able-bodied, and then all of a sudden they become disabled. They become part of the equation onto the system that is designed to keep people in legislative poverty. How do we put an end to that cycle of the system? I've got a lot of ideas, but the government doesn't want to listen to self-advocates. They don't want to listen to organizations in the BC or any province in Canada. We've all have great ideas, but the government seems to have their gatekeepers that are set there and are so stuck in that status quo of saying, "Oh, no, it's okay. We need to keep it this way." Are you living with a disability, gatekeepers? Are you living in legislative poverty?
Probably not, right?
Probably not. Yeah. But you don't have that lived experience based on what other people go through. Like I say again, live the life of that individual. You can't, because you are not that person, right? But if you were to be that person and live in that state, trust me, you would change that system
Yeah.
so fast. Now, just to quickly, I'll finish off on that part there, and then I'm just going to quickly throw in a little blurb of what makes me happy, like I had mentioned a little bit earlier.
Well,
And, but
can we actually? We'll finish off with that, Brent. We'll finish
yeah,
off with your what makes you happy, because I just wanted to jump off right there. Maybe this is the best part to jump off on, because again, why we're doing today's show is I had a whole list of examples, and I realized we were running out of time, and maybe
yeah,
the only real big example I was really wanting to share, and it's important, was the Charleigh Pollock,
yes,
the 10-year-old girl with Batten's disease, right? And,
yes,
and that was one of the real reasons why I wanted to do today's podcast, is because this there's kind of a two-pronged narrative that was happening there. For the most part, I will say, that again, for people that don't know, our BC government here, provincial government, they ended the medication for this 10-year-old girl of this rare disease, and it was preventing seizures, like really painful seizures for this girl, right? And anyway, the government said, well, we're not going to pay for it, because it's like $800,000 a
yeah,
year, so a really expensive medication. And we have to say too that the medication's not going to cure her, because unfortunately it's one of those diseases, Batten disease, where she will eventually die, maybe around age 13 or so, unfortunately. And
yeah,
the mother knows this. The mother
yeah.
knows this too.
But
Like,
it's the quality of life that
yeah,
medication,
the
it keeps her quality of life
yeah,
what she
exactly.
has now, and it
Yeah,
really it helps to sustain the enjoyment that the family have with their daughter, and their daughter have with
yeah.
their family. That the enjoyment of times. I mean, she's a happy-go-lucky child.
Oh,
Um,
exactly.
yeah,
Yeah, so it's the quality of life, right? And the government wanted to say that, oh, we don't want to give this medication anymore because it's not working, according to our faceless
expertise.
experts, our
Yeah,
experts panel that they're
yeah,
completely faceless and anonymous.
yeah.
None of them were coming forward and saying what data they were using. Apparently, they
Yeah.
were using old
Outdated.
data,
Yeah,
right?
outdated.
And so I want to contrast that, because I wanted to acknowledge that for the most part, I would say 99.9% of all of the push on social media, like on Twitter, was really positive, or people saying like, what's going on, we got to rally behind this young 10-year-old girl, this is wrong what the government's doing. And that was great to see all that pushback, and everybody
Oh
was
yeah,
getting behind that girl, and the mom, this Jory Fails is the mom,
yeah.
and it was wonderful to see, right? But I have to acknowledge too that there was a very small percentage, like it wasn't just like one or two rogue comments out there. It was like a
Yeah.
handful, where some people were saying, well, just let her die, just let the girl die, because
Oh,
that's the compassionate thing to do. Just let her
oh,
die, because they were saying, like, the comment
terrible.
was like, her quality of life sucks anyway. They're saying her
Oh,
quality of life sucks anyway, so just let her die. Like, why spend the money? Like, there were literally people on Twitter
I know.
saying that, like, why spend the money? Her quality of life sucks. Just let her die. That's the compassionate thing to do.
That's
That
so cold.
Oh,
Yeah,
yeah, totally,
very,
right?
very cold. I mean, ice cold. I mean, and I think that's how Jory Fales saw the government, how they were behaving,
Exactly.
and taking the medication away. Nowhere in Canada of any child that has the same disease was denied that funding.
BC
Uh,
was the first one to do
BC
that.
was the only one,
First
and
one to do
there
that.
was doctors around the world that finally that came to BC, around the world. Everyone,
Yeah.
they came to BC to tell the government this is not okay. Like whoever's making these decisions, like
Yeah.
just give the child the medication. We had a fundraiser that was done in Victoria, and yeah, it was great. There was a pizza place that we went to, and at the time, I mean, I had a bad cold. I mean, real nasty cold. It was just really developing, and I was taking a staycation away from the podcast for a bit anyway. So it really it was bad timing that I was supposed to be kind of having enjoying my staycation, but then I got a bad cold. But you know what? Were they doing a fundraiser to raise funds for little Charlie?
Mm-hmm.
We actually stopped what we did, and we actually went and actually met with someone that was actually very close to the family,
Yeah.
and
Elena Lawson.
Elena Lawson,
Elena Lawson.
and it
She's
was
great.
wonderful.
Yeah.
She was wonderful, and we met up, and her eye just her eyes sparkled as soon as she saw Sonia and
Yeah.
myself. We came in and grabbed a couple slices of pizza. We couldn't really afford to do that at the time. We took some of that out of our food money, but you know
Well,
what? We actually wanted to do that for
yeah.
Charlie because it was the right compassionate thing to do. So that I guess my comment to the government was that you kept saying, "Oh, we can't afford this. We can't afford it." You had the
Yeah.
money already
Yeah.
budgeted for that, right?
Yeah.
And
And
we couldn't afford to go and do that either. But we went and did it
yeah.
because it was the right thing to do to go and help Charlie, and because the mother had to do crowdfunding, GoFundMe,
Yeah.
because the government said we're going to take funding away. Well, I'm sorry that Jory wants to save her child, wants to give
Yeah.
her child the quality of life to sustain the her life that she has right now while she has that time with her child, with her little daughter. I mean, and when the government pulled the funding, I thought, wow, that is
And
so
and
cruel.
and
Like,
and you just touched on that, Brent. Sorry, you just touched on
yeah,
something though. I had to interrupt. Is that you said something about Elena Lawson's eyes sparkled, right?
yes,
Well, the sparkling eyes that you're talking about, that's the same sparkling eyes for this 10-year-old Charleigh Pollock.
yes,
Like I've seen video footage of this 10-year-old girl, and her eyes are sparkling.
yeah,
Like contrast that with the photo that I shared earlier of my dead eyes, my zombie eyes, after my wife had passed away 3 weeks before. If you look at video footage and pictures of this 10-year-old girl, this Charleigh Pollock, her eyes are sparkling. They're full of life,
yeah.
and she's got a huge smile on her face,
I know, I
and
know.
and
It's
like
contagious, that smile.
and you can't like when kids are 10 years old. When kids are
Yeah,
10 years old, they don't learn how to fake smiles.
exactly.
They're not they're
They're
not
just who they are.
they're not faking smiles. So
They're enjoying
obviously that
life.
obviously that emotion and life
Hmm.
that emotion and life that you see, and the light that you see shining from those eyes, that's genuine life. That's genuine
Exactly.
enjoyment of life. And for anybody to say, well, just let her die already because that's the
Yeah,
compassionate thing to do,
it was so
is
hurtful.
just so out of touch. and
Yeah.
and I just wanted to finish off, and again we do have to get off, so I just wanted to finish off with one last comment, is that the government wants us to believe the lie,
Hmm.
that human life isn't important, and that's why they didn't want to initially fund it, because they said, well, that's too expensive. Life has a dollar figure. That's too expensive.
Yeah,
They
I know
want
it's
us to believe that
wrong.
some people don't deserve to live. Some people deserve to die. That's why we have MAiD, and that's why we have these, we have free fentanyl, a safe supply fentanyl, so people can get addicted and lose themselves in addiction, and that's compassionate care too. We're providing compassionate care by letting people wallow in their drug addicted brains. So we have this government that's feeding us these lies.
Mhm.
It's feeding us these lies. I mean, let's go back to Josie Osborne. She's the provincial health minister. She kept saying kind of all the right things. It says I'm turning over every stone. She said, I'm turning over every stone to do the right thing for Charleigh Pollock and the mother. I'm turning over every stone. Well, that's not true. That's not true because there was a medical health expert that was an expert, like an international expert, that was an expert in Batten disease. She was waiting on the phone in Germany, I think it was. This expert was waiting on the phone in Germany,
Oh, yes.
waiting to talk to Josie Osborne, the health minister here.
Like 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning, wasn't it?
Yeah. So you had a medical expert that was like a leading expert in the whole world for retina disease. She was waiting on the phone for this Josie Osborne, our health minister, and Josie Osborne couldn't be bothered to pick up the phone and call this woman back.
Yeah,
couldn't be bothered. So you can't tell me that's turning over every stone.
And the health expert was actually in Germany at 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning, their time.
Yeah.
I mean, in her time, and Josie Osborne was able to take the call, chose not to. And then when Josie Osborne was asked, by, I think it was media that asked her, is money the issue? No, money's definitely not the issue.
It had to be the issue, though.
Yeah,
it had to be.
Yeah.
And so the very last thing I'll say is again, we're finishing off talking about the government believing the lie, or wanting us to believe the lie. Another MLA that did the exact same thing. He is now the MLA for Langford. It's the NDP. He's the NDP. He's Ravi Parmar. He's now the MLA for Langford. That was John Horgan's old riding.
Yes, that's
Ravi
right.
Parmar is now the MLA for Langford. And what did he say on Twitter, Brent? He says I was there from the very beginning. He actually did a tweet. I don't know if he ended up deleting it, but he put a tweet on Twitter saying, I was there from the very beginning with
the family, with the
family for Charleigh Pollock
and Jory's response on that one was
Jory's response, the mother's response was, no, you weren't. I never heard a peep from you. I never heard one peep from you, Ravi Parmar. That's what she said. So right away, Ravi Parmar is caught in a lie, and so again, they want us to believe the lie. I don't know why he thought that he could lie without being caught. Like, it's such a obvious lie. Like, he knows that we live in a social media world now that anything can be proven and disproven in a moment's notice now. But anyway, he went all in and said, I've been at the very start. I was at the very beginning, like helping the mother and helping the child, Charleigh Pollock. No, he wasn't. And the mother verified it. He's like, I never heard a peep. I never heard a peep from Ravi Parmar.
I heard about that.
But he wanted to look good politically. So he said, I did this great thing for the family. And
it backfired on him.
And no, he didn't. So that's what I'm talking about. Believing the lie. The government wants us to believe the lie, right?
Well, anyway, when I heard about that video, when I heard about that video circulating out there, and then kind of comparing with what he said and then what Jory said. I mean, Jory would know if he was involved in her family and being there.
Direct from the source.
Yeah,
exactly. You have the mother direct from the source saying, I never heard from Ravi Parmar like once. Not once.
So I'm gonna end the show with what makes me happy. Looking at wildlife in the area here, we get bunnies hopping around in our lawn. We get deer. We get deer around here. I mean, we've got a whole family of deer that in the community here, and they in our backyard where we live. We got a big forested area, and I tell you, they just camp out there. That's their home. They dig their little holes there, and they go caves, and they go in there when the weather gets nearly nasty. Whole families. I mean, across 1, 2, 3, like 4 or 5 buildings. 5 buildings. They actually mosey their way through, and they can go and live in different areas. One day we were on the bus just recently. We were doing our little mini travel segment down to the beach I mentioned a little bit earlier on the podcast. And guess what we saw? Sonia spotted out the bus window. Those are my deer, she said. Those are my deer. Isn't that what you said, Sonia? And we spotted them because you could tell that they were the same deer, and they traveled all the way down. Like, they travel fast, those deer. Wow. They can go down to the beaches and I guess, go get some water and get a lot of greenery down there. Not like they don't have enough here already. But yeah, they move fast, the whole family, and they train the little ones to walk across the road, and the little ones will kind of look each way and they go across, and then the bus drivers come along, and then they get mad because now they got to wait, and there's other motorists drive along, and they start honking their horn at the deer. I got another one of our neighbors that claps their hand. I went by, no, don't clap your hand. Like, please don't. Like, you're gonna scare the little deer, and what's gonna happen if they're not trained to go across the road properly? They're gonna run across and they're gonna get hit by a vehicle, right? And some people speed along, but I turn that positive into an energy and then into the negative into a positive because the fact is that it brings happiness to me. It brings happiness. How to make me happy. I got little squirrels around here. I got raccoons now. That doesn't make me happy. The raccoons, don't play with the raccoons because I tell you, they are not my pets.
Yeah, they can be nasty.
Oh no. And then there's the rats. I mean, we got rats around. I haven't seen it for a while. There was one.
And apparently, David Eby loves rats because we're not allowed to kill them here in BC.
My neighbor was telling me that they have like some rats in their building, and the pest control company told them there's nothing they can do to get them out because they're not allowed to use pesticide to get them out. And is that true? I said, oh yeah. I said, listen to our podcast. We had an episode about that. And well, really? I go, yep. They're like, how come the government won't allow it? I go, because the government figures they know best.
The government loves rats, obviously.
Yeah,
they must love rats.
Pink unicorns. They love pink unicorns, and so in their minds, pink unicorns are thriving. But I can tell you, so are the rats. The rats are thriving right now too. One thing that makes Sonia happy is, what was that about? Sonia, you had mentioned about the part that makes you happy. Sonia?
Just deer.
They check news.
Oh, the pet check.
The pet check. On Check News, they have a segment called Pet Check. And the little kitty cats are on there. She loves watching the segment about kitty cats. And they have a little basket. And Tess Van Straten, she's on there. And she's trying to keep all these kitties inside this basket. And they keep trying to jump out. And she has a guest with her when she does this. And she's like, oh, grabs them in. And Tess Van Straten is the meteorologist for Check News. So if you're not familiar with that, check it out. Look up the Pet Check segment. It's great. I love watching that. Sometimes they'll have other animals too. They're kind of integrating different dogs and stuff on there too. So, but things that make people happy, right? When the moments in life that are so negative, and I mean the cost of living going so high, if you can find enjoyment of something that makes you happy, find that. And
again, we acknowledge that life can be difficult, but
yes,
to go back to the beginning is just zoom out, take the wide angle lens, take the wide angle lens on everything, and see that things at the fringes actually are pretty good. At the fringes are actually pretty good. So if you just can see the fringes, though, you widen out, you can see the fringes.
If you channel that the frustrations, which we all do, we all have. I mean, I can tell you. I mean, there's so many frustrations that I can say, well, we want to live somewhere else. Well, right now we are where we are. That frustration is that the government is not listening. Like, it's tone deaf. Like they're always excuses. Oh, well, it's the tariffs. Not raising rates in 4 years had nothing to do with tariffs. So to me, it's an economic decision of not balancing finances properly. And I can tell you, years ago, you'd go to a ministry's office and you say, well, can I get a clothing allowance supplement, a crisis supplement, any help? And you know what you would get in return? You need to budget better. You need to handle your finances better. And I said, if you ever talk to me that way again, I said, you will be suspended.
I will wash your mouth out with soap.
Yeah, I talked to exactly how my mother talked to me. I said, I have a mother. I don't need another one. Yeah. Excuse me. So I will not let someone talk down to me. Like, I don't care who they are. If they talk down to me, I find it very disrespectful. And I find that for the government not keeping up with the actual current rates, like it doesn't matter which government it is, they always give the magic words. Oh, we know people are living in legislative poverty or suffering. The global
again, Brent, they're believing the lie. They're propagating the lie, right? Yeah. They want to believe the lie that they're selling everybody.
Because I always believe that if you take care of your residents and your citizens, everyone around that, including the individual themselves, are going to prosper. Healthy wise, yes, they can take care of themselves physically. And it really changes the whole mental state, that they're not in that mental state of of survival mode. I mean, survival mode of just it torments them in so many ways. They can better businesses in their community. I mean, there's so many things. I mean, I can give a whole list. I'm not going to go through it. We'll do a segment on that coming up in the near future. But I want people just to really put that into perspective. Of what I'm saying is that channel your frustrations out and phone your local MLAs, like let them know, or write an email. I mean, they don't like responding to emails. Write a letter, send it to them. They're going to be forced to read it, right? Or I mean, or you can phone them. Like try and phone them. They probably won't pick up the phone, but I mean, all the different angles. Phone them, or write them an email, or write a handwritten letter, or type it out. I mean, maybe typing.
Well, we were talking about letting our light shine, right?
Yeah,
And
yeah.
letting the light shine from
within, outward.
Yeah, from Charleigh Pollock too, letting
Yes.
her light shine, letting
Yes.
everybody's light shine. We do have to
Absolutely.
get out. We have to punch out because
Yeah.
we're overdue. So let's punch out with a song.
Okay.
Hiding under a bushel, no, I'm gonna let it shine. Hiding under a bushel, no, I'm gonna let it shine. Hiding under a bushel, no, I'm gonna let it shine. Let it shine, let it shine, let it shine. Anyway, I hope today
Everyone,
everybody enjoyed today's show. And
Yeah.
it's always a challenge to do these shows because we packed in a lot. And like I said,
Yeah.
we basically had the beginning of the podcast at the end.
Yeah.
But we never, like I said, we never practiced
Upside down.
these things. We never. Yeah, we turned it upside down, just
Upside down, yeah.
just like the thumbnail. We'll turn it upside
Yeah.
down. Yeah. So
Beginning at the end.
we never really practice these things, and we do it.
We just
that,
wing it.
We do that on purpose, actually, so that we kind of keep things more.
makes it
fresh.
entertaining.
We kind of keep things fresh that way. So
And-
I
yeah.
never really know what you're going to say. You never know what I'm going to say. We just kind of wing
Yeah.
it, right? And so this
and
is what
that's-
you get. But I hope
And
everybody
that's why,
did enjoy
and that's
it.
why it's so popular of a podcast, because I don't like scripts. I really don't like scripts. I just wing it. And sometimes, like, before the show starts, I mean, we talked about things that, what we're going to cover. And, sometimes, yes, I mean, as everyone knows with this podcast, we get off topic and we just kind of go down a rabbit hole. But then there's other times that these rabbit holes are very important to talk about sometimes.
So we
and it's
spend
all
a
about
lot of time on a particular rabbit hole sometimes. Yeah.
Yeah, and I mean, but a lot of these things are, based on lived experience, situations, and scenarios what we've gone through. And the moral of the story on today's podcast is, let your life shine. Let your inner self shine outward and turn all your frustrations into a positive outcome by knowing that your advocacy, for whatever it may be, whatever you advocate on. There's so many different things to advocate on in the world. I have a lot of things I advocate on. I try to focus on two things that I strongly believe for myself that I like to see changed, that will not just benefit myself, but fellow British Columbians and people across Canada and around the world. And that is having the proper financial support that is going to prosper a person's life, and then let them make those decisions based on what their needs are. And I'm going to talk, there's a lot of different episodes that we're going to be talking about and channeling these discussions. And I like to encourage our listeners and our guests that are watching live even now, or listening on the podcast later. Definitely, I encourage you to tune in and, send in your comments. What would you like to see?
Yeah, and I will say, sorry, Brent, again.
Yeah,
I will say too that we have a page on the YouTube channel, on the PWD Allies channel, or actually it's my channel. It's under my name, but it's still PWD Allies channel. And there's a tab on there. It's a community tab, and now under the tab, I've allowed it so that, or I guess really it's that feature that YouTube themselves have turned on by default, and I just kind of left it there. Is that now under the community page, people that are subscribed, you can actually start your own conversations on the community page. So if you go to the community tab and say, I want to start a conversation, or I want to leave a comment on the community page, you can do that. If you're subscribed, you can leave a comment and start your own discussion, and then
Awesome.
so you can have your own separate discussion in the community area.
Cool.
So that's kind of cool. So
that is neat.
We encourage everybody to do that, to start.
That is wonderful, and I hope people really enjoy our discussions that we had on today's podcast and every other podcast that we have, and it's relevant information that really helps to change a narrative and in a positive direction. Lived experience stories. I mean, that we talk about these things a lot, and because it is reality. Reality is that we don't live in pink unicorn life, right? Governments live in pink unicorn life because they live in those bubble world scenarios where they believe everything's still always the same, and that's why we say pink unicorns, because it's not real. Like it's fictionary policies that are made up that are keeping people in legislative poverty. That we need to end that, so that
we
people
always talk about governments living in the matrix. Our governments are living in the
Oh,
matrix.
absolutely.
And then we with disabilities are living the real life.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, and it doesn't matter which political party it is, right? I want to see them all. They all work together. I want to see them all standing up and actually saying, "What are you going to do? What are you actually going to do?"
Mm-hmm.
They can say all the magic things when they're in opposition, but I'll say, "Okay, so you're whatever government's in opposition, what are you going to do when you get actually into government? Are you going to hold the current government right now while they're in power? Doesn't matter which province you're in. Okay, so you say to them, what are you going to do now to hold the current government to account? And when you get in, are you going to change the actual policy? Like work together right now and actually just create a positive environment across Canada. We can turn all these negative things into a positive so easily. I mean, a snap of your finger. I mean, things can get prorated back. I mean, government has no problem wasting money, right? But there's nothing to see for it. That's the part that really blows the most is when all these things.
Think of think of the deficit that BC has now, and where is the fruits? Where is the fruits of that deficit, Brent?
Yeah.
Do you see the fruits of that deficit? I don't see the fruits of that deficit anywhere.
Yeah, I mean, about affordable housing. I mean, my gosh. I mean, actually, stay tuned to our next episode. Actually, after today, we're going to talk about affordability on affordable housing. I know we've covered this in the past.
Is that the next episode?
Yes,
I didn't even know.
Next one. Okay. Yeah, I know. See everyone. We just kind of wing it, and Neil doesn't always know what sometimes the next episode is unless we.
Thanks for letting me know, Brent.
Last minute, everyone. We're going to talk about housing on our next episode because that is a hot topic. However, because a sneak peek, I'll give everybody a sneak peek, is that what city is the least unaffordable to live in BC?
I know now because you
for
told
housing.
Me.
Yeah,
I know now.
I know. See, Neil knows that part, but you guys don't. So stay
you can
tuned.
reveal that. You can reveal that on the next podcast.
The next show, you'll be able to catch up on that.
Anyway, we got to put out, Brent.
That's the cliffhanger right there.
There you go.
Stay tuned for our next show. Take care. Enjoy the weekend.
Yeah. Hide it under a bushel, no. I'm gonna let it shine. Hide it under a bushel, no. I'm gonna let it shine. Hide it under a bushel, no. I'm gonna let it shine, let it shine, let it shine, let it shine, let it shine.
Bye, Ron. Bye, Ron.
See you.